Please welcome to the stage, Greg Hartrell.
Hello, RDC. Hello, RDC. It's great to see everybody. I'm Greg Hartrell. I'm a product director at Roblox. Thank you. I lead Roblox's content ecosystem, and it's a pleasure for us to talk about the arcane topic of intellectual property. In a moment, I'm going to be bringing out my colleagues, Brian, who's our principal IP counsel, and my engineering counterpart, Alan, to talk to you a little bit about this topic. Let's get started. I think it's a powerful approach for any creator of a game or an experience to take use of intellectual property. From blockbuster games to viral entertainment, it's a very familiar and tried and true strategy to take intellectual property to reach a broad audience while you pair it with a really fantastic game. Now, this is the good news of intellectual property, or IP. You can think of IP as somebody's original creative work, the same way that the game or experience that you make is your own original work. It's a unique collection of worlds and stories and characters that make a franchise like Stranger Things or Saw what it is. And just as you own the items that you create, companies like Netflix or Sega own their IP and can make rules around it. And that's a little bit of the bad news. All these rules and the deal making that comes with intellectual property makes it tricky to work with. And when we spoke to creators and IP holders, we saw there was a lot of complexity for them to navigate, and we knew we needed to do something to address this. So this is what inspired our core vision. We want to make IP-driven creation on Roblox simple, so anybody without a lot of business knowledge can use global IP in their game. And we want to do that by helping IP holders and creators work together at scale. So to help you make sense of the nonsense, we have two topics today. Our principal IP lawyer, Brian Smith, he's an expert in this domain. He'll cover the basics of IP with you in a moment. And afterwards, Alan and I will take you through our new licensing system on Roblox, which we're all incredibly excited about because it offers more opportunity for everyone, and it gives IP holders an alternative to the DMCA process. With that, let me invite Brian to the stage to keep us going. Brian.
All right, hello RDC, and welcome to Intellectual Property 101. As Greg mentioned, my name is Brian Smith, and I'm an IP lawyer here with the company. Now, before I get started, the normal disclaimer applies. The following is not legal advice. If you have any legal questions, you should speak to an attorney. Now, we are here today to talk about intellectual property, or IP, and experiences. This talk is broken down into two sections. Your IP, what you own and how to protect it, and secondly, not your IP, why to play it safe when using third-party intellectual property on Roblox. Now, let us begin with your IP. What do you own on Roblox? Well, when you create an original experience, you are creating intellectual property, and you own that IP, whether you choose to do anything with it or not. And that IP falls into two big buckets, copyrights and trademarks. Now, these two concepts often get confused with one another, so let's break them down. Starting with copyright. So let us begin with a definition. According to the US government, copyright protects original works of authorship fixed in a tangible medium. Think books, movies, music. Copyright protects creativity. Sounds pretty simple, right? But there are two words in that definition that I want you to pay attention to. The first is original, as in original works of authorship, which means that you can only protect those aspects of your work that are original to you. So think about creating an experience by taking a bunch of assets from the creator marketplace and arranging them to make an obby. Now, you can protect the way that you arrange those assets because that's original to you, but you can't stop somebody else from using those same assets in their experience. Likewise, you can't protect things that Roblox originally created, like the shape of the Dominus and other things. The second word is authorship, which means that there needs to be a human author involved. Now, this doesn't come up often, but I mention it because if you are using generative AI as part of your creation process, you likely cannot protect the output of that generative AI model. But what you can protect are any modifications you make to that content, the arrangement, etc. Now, what does this all mean for experiences? Experiences can be copyrighted. They can be protected as either an audio-visual work, or you can protect your source code as a literary work. And those categories will matter if you go to register your IP, which we'll talk about in a second. And you can also protect other things, like if you created any original music for your experience, if you created key art, if you created a trailer. These are all things that can be copyrighted. Now let's go over to trademark. And again, let us begin with a definition. A trademark is any word, phrase, symbol, design, or a combination that identifies your products or services. The whole idea with a trademark is you are trying to distinguish the products that you sell from the products that somebody else sells. So as an experienced developer, the trademarks that you most likely own are the title of your experience and your logos. Trademarks are a little bit different than copyrights in that it is not enough to just write down a trademark in order to gain protection. You actually need to use that trademark to sell a product or service. And you likely only get protection for the type of product or the type of service that you sell. Now, not all trademarks are created equally. Remember, you're trying to distinguish the products that you sell from the products that somebody else sells. So the weakest type of trademarks are descriptive marks, things that actually describe your product. So take an experience that is a really tall obby that is called really tall obby. It tells the player what to anticipate in the experience, but it isn't terribly original or unique, and other developers may be able to accurately describe their experience using the same words. The strongest marks, meanwhile, are made-up, fanciful words, like Roblox. Now, on to registration. As I've kind of hinted at, you do not need to register either a copyright or a trademark in order to enjoy protection, but it is still a really good idea. The benefits that you get from registration fall into two big buckets. The first is deterrent, and the second is litigation. Registrations are a deterrent because your registrations are public, particularly with trademarks, but also true for copyrights. So if somebody is doing their homework and trying to figure out what to call something or are wondering if somebody's already thought of something, they can look up your registration, they can search in the databases online and see that you have registered it. And they will think twice before infringing on your IP. And they will think twice because of that second category, the benefits in litigation. When you register a copyright and sue somebody, you get access to all kinds of fancy things. You can sue in US federal courts. You can sue for statutory damages. You can even recover attorney's fees if you win. These are all pretty powerful things. With trademark, the benefits are similar but different. Again, you get all that makes litigation a lot easier. You can use your US registration in order to file in other countries. And you can put that cool little R logo next to your name, which is pretty nice. And in any case, your future registrations simplify any licensing deals because it says, that this is your IP, this is what you own. Now, just a reminder to please focus your registrations on the IP that you created. Don't register Roblox's IP as your own. This means the Roblox name, the Roblox logo, the shape of the classic avatar. This is Roblox's. Please don't try and register it. Now, if you are interested in registering, and we really hope you're interested in registering your copyrights and trademarks, both the US Copyright Office and the USPTO, which is the Patent and Trademark Office, have created guides that walk you through the registration process. You can see these QR codes that are on the screen right now. These will link you to those guides, they're PDFs. And these are your best first stop in learning about the registration process before deciding whether to hire a lawyer in order to help you with registration. Now, on to the second part of the talk. The dangers of using IP without permission, not your IP. So as you heard during the keynote yesterday, and as Greg mentioned, Roblox is working hard to create opportunities for developers to work with rights holders and to use IP with rights holder permission. Now, in order to understand why that work is important, you first need to understand why it is such a bad idea to use third-party intellectual property IP without that permission. Those dangers include, first and foremost, that infringing on somebody else's IP violates the Roblox community standards. Secondly, if a rights holder comes along and says, this experience infringes my intellectual property and submits a takedown report, you can lose your entire experience, not just the part that was infringing. If multiple pieces of content that you uploaded get reported for IP infringement, you can lose your entire Roblox account permanently as a repeat infringer. If the rights holder decides to take it one step further and sues you, they can sue you for monetary damages, even if you did not profit from your experience. That's what those statutory damages are that I mentioned a moment ago, which is why it's so nice. You want the statutory damages as a rights holder. So that's why you should go ahead and get registered. And remember, IP does not work like other Roblox community standards violations. It is largely up to the rights holder to report infringing content to Roblox, which means that your content may come down while other similar content remains on the platform. So this is one area where it's not enough to just look around and see what other people are doing. You really need to think through these issues for yourself. Now, I mentioned takedown reporting a moment ago, and many of you are likely familiar with takedown reporting. Either you have submitted a takedown report or you have received a takedown report, either on Roblox or on another service. And the process is similar no matter where you go because it's prescribed by law. That law in the US is the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, or DMCA. You often hear that word thrown around. But for those of you who are not familiar with IP reporting, I just wanted to walk through the process briefly so that you can get a handle on it. So here's this timeline. So at the beginning, you publish some content on Roblox. And then time passes. It could be hours, days, weeks, months, or even years. And once that time has passed, a rights holder comes along. And that rights holder says, this content infringes my intellectual property. And they fill out a takedown report, following the instructions contained in the Roblox Terms of Service. And once they have filled out that takedown report, they send it in. And then Roblox receives the takedown report. And Roblox is a team of human beings who reviews each and every takedown report before we process it. Now, Roblox cannot make the final determination whether a piece of content is infringing. Only a court can do that. But what we can do is review each report and make sure that all of the required information is there. And secondly, that there are no obvious issues with the report. So say the reporter's content and your content look nothing alike. If we review that report and it all looks good, it looks valid, we process it, which means a couple things. First of all, we remove the content, the reported content from the platform. Second, we let the person who uploaded that content know that we have removed their content. And third, we let the rights holder know, hey, we processed your takedown report. Now, what should you do if you have received a takedown report? In every case, it is always a good idea to look back at all the content that you have uploaded to Roblox in the past. Use this as a wake-up call. And look back at all this content and see if, hey, maybe in your misspent youth, you uploaded some content that infringed on somebody else's IP. And now, at your wise old age, you have realized the error of your ways, and you can go and archive that content, delete that content, etc. But if you believe that the takedown report was filed in error or if a mistake was made, you should consider filing a counter notice. A counter notice works a lot like the initial takedown report. There's required information, you send it into Roblox, we review it, we check it out. If it looks good, we process it. For a counter notification, processing means the following. We forward your counter notification to the reporter, and then we wait 10 to 14 business days. Roblox did not invent this time period. It's in the law. You can look it up. I'm not lying to you. And so once we have waited this time period, we see if the reporter has responded back to us and shown evidence that they have filed a lawsuit against you. If they have not filed a lawsuit against you, we will restore the content and remove any penalty associated with your account. And so that's why it's a good idea to file a counter notification. But again, only if you believe an error or mistake was made. Please don't do it just because you feel like it. OK. I know I've thrown a lot of information at you very quickly. So if I can get you to remember 2 things out of everything I just said, it's this. First, please, please, please do not use third-party IP without permission. It's a really bad idea. And secondly, please register your IP. We think this is really important, and it's just a great idea. With that, thank you for your time, and I will hand it back to Mr. Greg Hartrell. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Brian. I already feel so much more educated. Look, I want to talk to you now about how Roblox is making it easier to use creative works and their IPs in your games and experiences. There's actually quite a few different licensed games on Roblox already, so let's talk about what we know about IP today. The first is, creators have a lot of opportunities to use IP to reach a larger audience. As a fan of the IP or as a creator, you're likely to do some of your greatest work, and that's one of the ways that you can build up a lot of fan engagement. Creators run into barriers, though. They have limited access to IP holders, there's a lot of complicated negotiations, and we ultimately want to try to overcome those barriers. When you look at it from an IP holder point of view, the opportunity is enormous. We described our concurrency records and our DAUs at our keynote yesterday, how there's an enormous amount of reach and to gain an audience of fans for your IP. But IP holders, too, run into barriers. It just turns out there's thousands of you to cooperate with. You have very rapid updates, and a lot of that speed and genre innovation is incompatible with the way that IP holders tend to operate. And then the other thing that's helpful for an IP holder is Roblox's own content standards. An IP is far less likely to be misused or damaged on the platform, and that's a barrier that we can overcome for an IP holder as well. Now, I mentioned that our vision was to make IP-driven creation simple, and that way IP holders and creators can work together at scale. But it's really important to know that not all IP holders are the same. Some IP holders are actually very protective of their works, such that they have restrictions that mean they would never want to be on the platform. And that's why the DMCA process that Brian described earlier and our rights manager are tools to help those IP holders. We have other IP holders who find themselves with exclusive creations on Roblox, and they would otherwise take down everything else. And they fall into that middle bucket. But then there's this final bucket that wasn't really possible until very recently, other than a creator of either to turn a blind eye to the content, or an IP holder rather, turning a blind eye to the content that's being created, or otherwise taking down the content. And so that's why the license manager is created. We recognize the need to support a third posture for IP holders, those who want to license their content, but do so through the community on Roblox. So by supporting a way to bring a license to you, you might be asking, why should I care? There's a few important reasons why you should care. One is you can get sanctioned by having a license, and you know where you stand with the IP holder. That's enormous. The second is if you get a license, you also get to understand where clarity with the IP holder, what their standards are, what you're permitted to do, what you're not permitted to do. And lastly, it's important for Roblox to give us a signal, rather, that you do have a legitimate license and the legitimacy of your content, and you'll make your mother proud. Okay, so we launched the License Manager and License Catalog just in July. This is a system to allow creators to get a license for a global IP. We have some incredibly vision-forward partners. They include the likes of Lionsgate, Netflix, Sega, and we recently announced Kodansha just yesterday. This was extremely well received by you all. We're very grateful for the reaction. Our IP holders are absolutely thrilled, and we see a lot of buzz in the broader industry. We have a number of IP holders, as I mentioned. We have Netflix with Squid Games and Stranger Things, Lionsgate with Saw, Twilight, and Now You See Me. They're adding Fall and Blair Witch Project and The Strangers, and Sega has joined us with Like a Dragon. And the screenshot's already old. We have Blue Lock, and That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, announced very earlier. And we also announced that coming soon, Mattel will be joining us with IPs like Polly Pocket and Street Sharks. IP holders have been actively licensing experiences already, with hundreds of candidate experiences to pick from, and we're really thrilled with the momentum. Now, our system comes together through the concept of a universal license. These are standard terms that are true for all IPs on the platform, except an IP holder can customize them in a few specific ways. I'll get to that in a moment. But once the universal terms are set and the IP is offered, there's really two ways to get a license. The first is we offer IP holders a scanner. They give us verified reference materials from those IP holders, and the scanning technology identifies any experiences that are centrally using that IP. And an IP holder can offer you a license to those detected experiences, and it'll activate after 7 days if it goes undisputed. The other way is through a direct application. The screenshot we showed earlier was of the license catalog. You can browse for a set of IPs that you want to apply for, and you can submit an experience through the Creator Hub for the IP holder to approve or deny. And we also vet all of these IP holders, both in terms of their confirming their ownership and their eligibility, so this minimizes the risk of abuse and ensures creators have access to high-quality IP. Now, licenses, I mentioned, have standard terms, and there are a few ways that they are customized. The first is eligibility criteria. An IP holder can set a maximum maturity rating, and they can set a minimum 7 DAU. Later on, we're going to offer them the ability to set eligibility for a lifetime number of DAU if they want to focus on their IPs being more conservative and reaching creators with a strong track record. Otherwise, a number of IP holders have set their eligibility criteria to be very permissive, allowing any creator to apply, and they want to see a lot of different creative ideas. The other way that they can customize it, of course, is the revenue share, the royalties that they'll receive. They can define the rate. We're finding that it's typically hovering between 15 and 30%, but some of them do go higher. And the revenue here is takes advantage of any revenue stream in the game. This includes not only in-game purchases, but also includes ads and a share of creator rewards. Content standards is the other thing they get to define, and this is pretty important. Right now, it's a document, literally a PDF that you can download, and it outlines what is permitted and what is not permitted by the IP holder. You'd see a variety of things that you're not permitted to do with an IP that are above and beyond Roblox's content standards. Examples might be most IP holders don't want you mixing their IP with other third-party IPs. Seems reasonable. Another example in the film and TV industry is they don't want you using the actors' likenesses because they haven't secured the rights to those rights, but they're otherwise happy to have you adapt the IP for all other aspects of the creative work. We do plan on operationalizing these standards a little bit better, turning them into a template so they're more systematic, but right now they're literally a PDF that you read. Okay, getting a license to your favorite IP on Roblox is a pretty straightforward process. Once you find an IP you want to use, these are screenshots of what it looks like to apply. You can pick an experience from your library that you want to start the application with. Not depicted here is we're going to shortly have the ability for you to write a short pitch. We hear from our IP holders, they really value hearing whether it's in your description or in that upcoming pitch feature, what is your vision for using the IP? If you describe it in more details, a lot of the IP holders are not game makers, and so if you describe it in simple, straightforward terms, it'll increase your chances of getting approved. Next, you ultimately look at the revenue terms and whether you want to defer monetization or start monetization right away. You might be asking, why would I want to defer monetization? Well, if you're not already using the IP, we wanted to give that as an option to signal, hey, I'm not yet using the IP, pay attention to my game and monetize me later. Ultimately, the IP holder gets to choose when they monetize. And finally, you carefully review and agree to the IP holder's content standards and the license terms. You make sure your experience follows those standards. It's one of the easiest ways you'll be rejected if you don't. And once you do that, the IP holder gets a notification. They'll see it inside of the license manager and evaluate it and decide whether they'll approve or reject. Last thing I'll mention is there is a new intellectual property section where you'll see whether your license is activated. I mentioned the scanner earlier. IP holders get match results. You get an offer, a notification of your experiences using centrally using IP. They can go, we'll talk about in a moment of how that system works, but ultimately they can pick a detected experience, offer a license to the creator, and you're getting that because it means you're probably using the IP. Now, I'd mentioned that if it goes undisputed, it becomes active in 7 days, but you do have the opportunity to dispute during that 7-day window. You can say that your creation doesn't use the IP, maybe they made a mistake. Perhaps you have licensed the IP already, or you think it's already under fair use. And of course, within the 7-day period, you may have decided to remove the use of the IP and signal to them that, hey, I'm no longer using that. Some people ask us, hey, why only 7 days? That sounds really fast. The truth is it's really important to make that decision in a timely way. Creators can get exposed to legal risks, and IP holders could otherwise take down your experience through the DMCA process, and it would go away permanently. You get 2 attempts to dispute it, plus this time to make a decision, and we think that's a pretty fair trade-off between what IP holders and what creators are capable of doing. I'll mention quickly maintaining active agreements. This is an example of what it looks like to a license holder, where they can approve and monitor approve and reject and monitor their experiences. They also get access to important metrics, 7 DAU, lifetime visits, and they can produce a transaction report. Importantly, this is where an IP holder can also request changes of you if you deviate from the content standards. We ask that you make those changes within 10 business days and make any necessary corrections. This is important because if you don't make those changes, if you're chronically not keeping up with their content standards, they do have the right to terminate the license, and then they could take down your experience. But we otherwise think that this is a pretty fair way to approach it. And right now, these requests are brokered through email, but we'll be systematizing it so it's a communication mechanism in the tool later this year. Okay. One really important goal for us is to have an egalitarian approach to determining if an experience is using the IP. So I want to invite my engineering counterpart, Alan, to come on stage and discuss how we're trying to keep a level playing field with our scanning technology. Alan.
All right. So our scanning process should be comprehensive and accurate to promote trust for both IP holders and creators, that we're finding the right experiences that substantially use IP and enable IP holders to assess and act on those match results. First, we employ a sophisticated multimodal model to find evidence across every experience in Roblox that we can use to consider matches. Multimodal essentially means multimedia, looking beyond text. What do we have in experiences that we can look at to consider matches? First is a static analysis. What's all the stuff in an experience? I mentioned text, but also assets, that's meshes, textures, avatars, videos, animations, etc. Beyond that static content of an experience, we also look at the dynamically generated information that results as a part of gameplay. What are players seeing when they play it, when they're using an experience, and what are they discussing in an experience that generates further insights for our model to evaluate. So let's take an example. Now first, let me assure you, we're going to use the example of Christmas, but Christmas is public domain, which is why it's a good example. All of you should feel free to use Christmas in your experiences. But for the sake of the argument, let's say that Santa Incorporated owned the IP rights to Christmas. Now, what would they provide Roblox as a platform? They would show terms and imagery that defines what they have the rights for in Christmas. It may be red stockings, sleds, candy canes. This on screen is Christmas Eve in Santa's Workshop, one of our favorite Christmas experiences. And here you could see plenty of that sort of content, and we would hope that this would be a Christmas match result. On the other hand, just one red stocking in an experience does not a Christmas game make. How do we separate that? Well, in addition to the multimodal model I referenced, we utilize an advanced reasoning model that examines and evaluates all of the evidence that's surfaced to determine substantial use of IP. Here's an internal UI for the tool we use to scan experiences. That is taking a look at Christmas Eve in Santa's Workshop, assessing all of the evidence, and determining that, yes, in fact, this is a substantial use of what Santa Inc. might own as Christmas, and that would enable that IP holder to then reach out and begin that discussion about licensing this IP.
Fantastic. Thanks, Alan. This is really helpful. Everybody, Alan. All right, in July, one of our founding partners we announced was Kodansha. True to its name, it fittingly translates into storytelling company. Kodansha has been a dominant force in Japanese publishing for over a century. You know them for IPs like Attack on Titan and Akira. And so what I wanted to do was bring the director of the Creator Labs team at Kodansha Limited to talk a little bit about them bringing Blue Lock, and so that time I got reincarnated as a slime to the platform. Please join me in giving a very warm welcome to Loichi Suzuki. Good to see you. Thank you. All right, Suzuki-san, thank you for joining us. We discussed Kodansha's licensing innovation on Roblox. I wonder if you could share your vision for licensing and reimagining it on for a UGC platform.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm speak Japanese. 歴史的にファンによる二次創作は原作の人気を高めてきました。しかし原作者が利益を得るためのシステムがなくて、黙認するか削除させるかの選択肢しかありませんでした。私たちは原作者が UGC から適切な、報酬とともに、利益を得るためにより魅力的な作品が育まれるようなシステムを構築したいと考えています。私はこれをライセンス 3.0 のアプローチと呼んでいます。相互の信頼に基づいて従来のライセンスも尊重しつつ、私たちの作品の魅力を広げ、ファンの熱意を深めていきたいと思っています。
Thank you, Greg, for inviting me. In history, fan-made works have boosted the original work, but at the same time, there's no system where the original authors can get benefit out of it. So they have to go silent or they have to take it down. So they had only two choices. But we wanted to create a system where original authors can get benefit from UGC, and also based on a fair revenue share, we want to create a more compelling works. We call it license 3.0 approach, and based on mutual trust, we want to spread the works appeal and deepen fan enthusiasm while valuing the traditional licensing model.
That's excellent perspective. Look, Blue Lock and Tensura are very popular and they're well-loved IPs added to our catalog yesterday. Can you tell us a little bit why you think they're a good fit for Roblox?
ブルーロックはすでにロブロックス上で最も人気な IP の一つです。僕は著者の2人と昔から知り合いなので、先ほど申し上げたライセンス 3.0 の構想とロブロックスがそれに最も最適なルールと技術を持ったプラットフォームであることを誠実に伝え、今回の導入の許可を得ました。
So Blue Lock is already one of the most popular IP on Roblox, and I know him for a long time, the two of them, a long time. We shared the vision of this license 3.0 with the author, and I mentioned that this Roblox is the ideal platform, and they got approval from them.
テンスラに関しては北米でかなり、コミックが売れているにもかかわらず、ロブロックス上ではまだ知名度があまりありません。でも内容もキャラクターも造形もロブロックスに向いていると思っているので、今回の導入によってロブロックスのユーザークリエイターに知ってほしいという気持ちがあり、原作者に打診をして快諾を得ました。
As for Tensura, despite the strong comic sales in North America, it still lacked recognition on Roblox. However, I felt both story and character design were well suited for this platform. So with this launch, I wanted your younger Roblox users to discover it. So I approached the author, and who kindly agreed to participate.
Fantastic. Well, look, I have one last question for you. You're a legendary editor, and I know you've worked with the Blue Lock authors very closely. Can you share with us a quick story about Blue Lock and why it's beloved by so many?
OK、ストーリー担当の金城さんとはデビュー作「神様の言う通り」から担当編集者として20年近くご一緒してます。作画の野村先生ともほぼ同時期のデビューなので、存じ上げてます。
So I've worked with Mr. Kaneshiro, the author and the story writer, for nearly 20 years, serving as his editor since his debut work as The Godwill. I've known Mr. Nomura in charge of artwork since his debut around the same time.
金城さんは常に世界一面白い漫画を作ることを目指して読者を第一に考えて、驚きと喜びに満ちた物語を作り続けてきました。ブルーロックの世界的な人気は、この同じ思いを持った野村先生と金城先生の物語作りの情熱の賜物だと思います。
Mr. Kaneshiro always aimed to create the best manga in the world, prioritizing his readers by crafting surprising and delightful stories. Blue Lock's global popularity stemmed from this shared passion, Mr. Kaneshiro's dedication to storytelling, and Mr. Nomura's powerful, energetic illustration.
I love this story. Look, I want to thank you for your partnership, and I'm looking forward to many more IPs on our platform with you. Everybody, please thank and let's hear it for Suzuki-san. All right, we have to wrap up quickly because we're a little over time. Number one, don't use intellectual property without permission from the rights holder. We got it, right? Okay, we recommend registering your IP, search how to do this, or find a lawyer to help you. You can check out the license catalog. You can start applying for IPs that are exciting to you. And if you're an IP holder, stay tuned. Later this year, we're going to open up the platform for more self-service for those who have exclusive worldwide rights to their IP, and we'll share more about that in Q4. And with that, it brings us to the end of our session. A big thanks to all of you for your amazing creativity and interest. We hope that this will make it incredibly easy for you to use IP and be on the journey of us to accomplish this mission. We aren't taking any QA on stage. We've run out of time, but we are happy to talk with you off stage after this talk. And other than that, please enjoy the rest of RDC. Thank you.